Today is a good day. Qapla. All right, today I'm going to talk about the season 3 finale of For All Mankind. There will be spoilers, so if you haven't seen it, uh, I guess go watch it on Apple TV. Otherwise, I'm going to share this article about the season 3 finale on screen. So let me pull that up. It's called Stranger in a Strange Land. So we start off with basically um, picking up where we left off last episode with the marooned, I guess, Korean astronaut, Lieutenant Colonel Lee John Gill is what they named him. It shows like a flashback of how he got to Mars. Him and his comrade uh, landed, had a crash landing. Only one survived. So he buries his comrade and eats food from cans and tries to adjust his antenna, trying to contact uh, Earth back home. He grows more desperate as the days pass. He keeps collecting sand samples and sees two of his footprints in the sand and swipes a curved line under them, making a smiley face. He laughs about it. But then he finally gives up and he has a gun on board his ship and is going to commit suicide. But then he sees Daniel and the Russian Kuznetsov roll up in the Rova. His reaction is, to hold him at gunpoint because that's probably what he's been, you know, trained to do, basically. Meanwhile, President Ellen Wilson, you know, has a fall, uh, fallout from coming out, as a lesbian in the past episode. Margot is also under fire because she gave the Russians designs to their spaceship in exchange for letting go of or helping out with the Russian um, Sergei that she's semi involved with. The Russian that is a part of that has come to NASA, Lenara Katish, is informs her that she's under investigation by the FBI for espionage. They say they have an asset in the Justice Department and have reported, that Leda is the one that's, you know, told the FBI that Margot is a spy, but she refused to cooperate. But of course, they probably pieced it together anyway. And the rest of their conversation was about probably getting Margot out when and and when and where. Um, and they don't really go into how they do it, but the last scene of the episode shows that it was accomplished. Margot did get out of, but I'll go back to that in a little bit. But anyway, then at Helios Aerospace, they're working on a way to speed up the refueling of Popeye because um, Kelly is going to has to have the birth of her child, I guess, within 24 hours, or they both die because of her preeclampsia. Um, and then, meanwhile, at Helios, Dev is basically being told by the board to step aside, and Karen will um, take control of Helios, and she's going to accept that. Um, Dev tries to bring along as many of his Helios staff as he can because he's going to start on his own again. But then Karen points out that there will be pay cuts, leaving Dev without anybody to come with him because nobody wants to take a pay cut to go, on a you know a maybe basically instead of what they already have, which is definite um, you know money. Uh, and then John Gill. Uh, Danny attempts to communicate with him by drawing in the sand, but that distracts him, and he's overpowered by Kuznetsov, who yanks his oxygen tube, but Danny saves him by reattaching the tube. They bury his gun in the sand with the lug wrench marker and bundled to his tie. Uh, they bundle him on the back of the rover back to Happy Valley. Um, Now they have the homing radar that can allow the MSAM to dock with the Phoenix, but there's a problem. They have to lose 1,000 pounds of weight, so they remove all the seats and essential hardware, but still not enough. So they're going to just send Kelly to the Phoenix, and everyone else stays behind. They won't be rescued for 1.5 years. Um, but hopefully, with the rationing and the plants Kelly's growing, Will Tyler estimates it could be possible for them to survive that long. But Kelly is appalled at that suggestion, but everyone raises their hand to volunteer, beginning with Danny. Um, the Stevens brothers, Danny saved the day in Polaris, but it's been downhill from there. He volunteers to stay behind so Kelly can leave. Later, he offers to pilot her into orbit, even if it means she'll surely die in her return. In the crash landing, but Ed angrily quashes the second idea. As for Jimmy, he wakes up way too late at Johnson Space Center's band of, um, I'm going to call radicals, are planning to bomb the Johnson Space Center, basically. Um, Jimmy doesn't know what they're doing, so he plants something inside, I guess, a certain room that will trigger the bomb to explode. So now, back on Mars, the fuel only can get the MSAM 95% of the way to orbit. They need to make up the last 5%. Aleda says Kelly can strap on the propulsion maneuvering unit to her back and operate it, and then propel herself basically from being on top of the MSAM to the Phoenix. And yeah, it's the most unbelievable part of the episode. Basically, you're gonna rocket somebody who's already exposed from the heat and friction and all this stuff uh, without any kind of protection besides their spacesuit. Plus, they're pregnant. You know, I could see it if she was inside and then got outside and then turned on the thing. But yeah, it just does. It doesn't make any sense to me the way they did it in this episode with her already strapped on before they even blast off. Um, to me, that's like a no way that could ever happen. But you know, that's why it's science fiction. Um, everything about that part of it, getting her to the Phoenix, and then uh, the rocket coming or the MSAM coming back to the Mars surface is like a 1 in a zillion chance of happening. But obviously, since it's science fiction and TV, it happens. Um, But it calls back to the moment where Ellen catches the tank in the season one finale. So it's not about um, as crazy advanced technology as it may seem. Um, so I guess they rely on really stretching things pretty far in this sense. Um, so everybody ready's for the launch. Um, but Jimmy sees Charlie zipping up an army duffel full of rifles in the back of the van and then he suddenly realizes something bad's about to go down. But then, Sonny interrupts him as he tries to call his sister-in-law, Amber, but trying to escape. Then he's knocked out by Charles. Things are looking better for Sergei, who's landed at Ramstein Air Base with his parents and video conferences with Margot. She got him out of the Soviet Union, and Sergei is delighted. He says, "Hello, Charlie, we'll see each other in a week or so." Margot can't bring herself to respond since she realizes, yeah, I'm either going to be in federal prison or Moscow by then. So it's kind of almost in a way an exchange. To me, I think she secretly exchanged her life for his life for her. Because they don't really explain it, but I think that's what happened. I think she said, "Okay, I'll go to Russia as long as you can get him out of there and his family." I think that's really what happened in this episode. Then they bring Molly Cobb back to Russian control because she's gonna talk to Ed about, um, how Ed has to basically fire the rockets at the last second, so he crashes to the surface. I guess not as um, much as he would have without any fuel at all. I guess basically. Um, so she said, explains to him that how to fire the rockets at the last second basically, and then Amber calls Karen to tell about Jimmy's phone call. She goes outside, hears him kicking in the van, frees him, and sees bombs wired to the back of the van. Meanwhile, back at Happy Valley Base, Danny begs Ed to let him fly up to the Phoenix because he thinks it's a suicide mission and therefore it should be him that dies. And he confesses that it was his fault the drill exploded at the water extraction site. Ed slams Danny against the wall and points out that he's even less likely to let Danny pilot his daughter off of Mars. Ed hisses at Danny to get back to work and assures him there will be a reckoning when he gets back. So Kelly suits up in her Alexei Polatov's old cosmonaut suit, and he died earlier in the season, which allows more space for her protruding belly. And then that Operation Baby Launch goes off without a hitch. Like I said, it's science fiction, so what do you expect? Ed gets Kelly nearly to the Phoenix. She disengages and blasts the rest away to the bay doors, and Ed drops back down to the surface of Mars with dangerous speed. Meters from the surface, he taps the engines to slow and crash lands because that's the only way it was going to land anyway, by crash landing. Simultaneously, unimaginable happens at NASA. The terrorists, realizing that Karen has freed Jimmy and has lured security, detonate the bomb in the back of the van. And this caused the 1995 Oklahoma City bombing, basically. So instead, turns Johnson Space Center into a smoking, inferno. Jimmy finds Karen on the rubble, gasping her last breath as she stares up into the sky and passes away. And meanwhile, the wall of Margot's office, where minutes ago she was practicing on the piano, has been sheared away, and she's nowhere to be found. So obviously, she took the opportunity to basically leave the building. Luckily, I guess in time before that happened. Alita, meanwhile, not knowing that, stands shocked and shocked, in the space that was basically bombed. Um, then we see Kuznetsov driving her over to the site of Ed's landing. Ed is alive and walking towards us as Kuznetsov grins. Um, then he finds out the death of Karen from Danny. Um, but then they decide to exile Danny to the North Korean probe with some supplies, telling them someone will come out and bring new supplies every few months. After all his crimes, Danny's getting solitary confinement. So is that cruel and unusual punishment for what he did? Yeah, maybe, but there are no laws in space or on Mars, I guess. So again, it's another part of the episode I thought was kind of um, odd. But yeah, I mean they couldn't trust Danny anymore, so they had to, um, you know. But then you got to remember that about the stupid buried pistol and this buried in the sand with the helpful unrich marker. So yeah, they're saying pretty sure Danny's going to find that and yeah, probably just kill himself. So we'll see. Um, Ellen and her secret service detail in the driveway of her ex-lover Pam. The spark is still there. Um, Obviously, next, the newspaper is delivered to the American Sergei, dated 1995, and bears a headline that reads NASA Space Center named for Holland fallen hero Molly Cobb. So she rescued some people inside the Johnson Space Center, and I guess she went back in, and then we don't see her anymore. So yeah, that was like kind of a callback to me to the World Trade Center bombing. Um, as people went back inside to keep on looking for survivors, even though they knew they were going to die. Finally, we get a time jump to 2003 that will, I guess, set up next season. Margot wakes up. She rises and gets ready for work. Um, but because, but then when she opens her windows, we see Moscow. So yeah, Katich did get a Margot away from the Johnson Space Center minutes before the bombing. Will she make a better Soviet than Sergei ever was? Yeah, probably. Um, the episode title was a nod to Robert A. Heinlein's 1961 novel by a human born on Mars who finds adjusting to life on a religiously divided Earth difficult. The headlines that Ellen scans an awful Oval Office say, Wilson, I'm gay, a double life. Wilson comes out as a lesbian and liar, liar. Kuznetsov says, hey, this Korean guy, he was the first man on Mars, motherfucker. So obviously he's been spending too much time with Americans but both him and Danny realize, hey, we're not the first on Mars anymore. This guy was, so that'll be, I guess, whatever. Uh, Last week we learned how much radiation a fetus can safely take, but yeah, can find no equivalent of G force. So, and again, yeah, you got G forces, you got again blasting off with no protection besides your spacesuit into space. Yeah, there's no way that could ever work. I mean, I don't care if it's Mars or I mean, if I could see it being the moon and you do that because then there's hardly any gravity, but Mars has gravity, and Mars has to have like friction like Earth and everything with all the fire and stuff like that. I mean, but they purposely leave that all off. Molly's, says she's a selfish prick in the episode, and her rescue is reminiscent of her rescue of Wubo on the moon in season two. Um, and then when Ed is translating to the Korean, he calls him my good dumpling. Welcomes him to his new home rather than this crash spaceship he was in. Um, and they're saying that Lieutenant Colonel, that the Korean guy, was the weakest element of the episode. I kind of agree with that because it was kind of goofy. And then we see Kelly holding her baby reflected in the window of Mars, glowing in the background, which is very reminiscent of 2001: Space Odyssey. So yeah, I agree with all those assessments of the episode. So that'll be it for now. You didn't see the finale yet. So yeah, that's it for today. Come back after you see the episode. Uh, I'll put that in a little comment. Come back after you see the episode. After you have watched the episode and hear what I said. Hear what I said. Sorry for the spoilers, but I did say spoilers. But that's basically everything that happened in this episode. So. So that's it for today. Thank you.